today we shall be discussing about the power of the police to prosecute an action in the court. And in the house we have Oluwatosin with me, and she will be discussing extensively about the power of the police to prosecute an action in the court. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So today, as I said, we shall be discussing about the power of the police to prosecute an action in the court. And Oluwatosin is here to discuss extensively about the topic. And the first question that we shall be asking Oluwatosin is that, can you tell us about the overview of police? Can you tell us about the overview?
Okay. Thank you so much. Like you said, our topic is the power of the police to prosecute a case or a matter in the court. So the first question is power of the police. Police. Yes, we all know what the police is. We've had the police. We know what the police stands for. But nevertheless, I'll just give an overview. The police is the executive arm of government, and we know that the executive arm of government is the arm that enforces the law. I mean, we have three arms of government. We have the legislature, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary. We know the legislature or the legislative is the lawmaking body. Lawmaking people that make the law. Then those that carry out the law, that ensures that the law is being obeyed, that's the executive, and that's where the police falls under. And we have the judiciary, those that interpret the law when it's brought before them. So, like I said, the police is under the executive arm of government, meaning that the police ensures that the law that was made by the legislative arm is being followed strictly. Like, people adhere to it, the citizens, those who the law is made for, adhere to it. And in a situation where there is can I use breach now, or you are not following the law as you ought to, or you break any of the law, they are there to enforce it, meaning that you are going to serve whatever punishment that comes with it. So that is the police. So the police is the executive arm of government, and their duties, we have they detect crime, they prevent crime, they apprehend offenders, they preserve the law, they protect lives and property. Like I said, also they enforce the law, and of course they prosecute cases, which is our topic for today. We're going to discuss. But their general duties majorly is about the protection of lives and property, prevention of crime, apprehending offenders, preserving the law, like that. So these powers, their duty is derived from the Police Act. Yet the Police Act is the law, like the body of law that govern the activities of the police. So if the police arrest you and say that, but I have an arrest warrant and I want to arrest you, what is giving them that power? What is enabling them to carry that act? That act of arrest is the Police Act. A law has empowered them to do it. So if the Police Act says that the police have the duties, their duties and the power, they can detain, they can arrest, they can arrest you, they can search, of course, with some subject to some conditions like that, then it is the Police Act that is enabling them. So the law that governs the activities is the Police Act. And what else again? What else can I say? Of course, the police have the power to prosecute the case, which we're going to go into later on. So I think that's just what I can, a brief overview of the police.
Thank you, Ma. We really understand the overview of the police. Well, as a matter of fact, you said, according to our topic, the police has the power to prosecute an action in the case. Fine, we all know about the police. You've actually explained extensively about the police. Now we said the police has the power to prosecute an action. Please, can you just share us an explanation about prosecute, because we are just hearing prosecute.
Okay.
We don't really understand.
Okay, let me break it down in layman terms. Actually, one of our aim for this session is to bring the knowledge of law to the people the law is made for. I mean, most people associate big grammars and jargons and, what is our big grammar to law, that lawyers, once they start drafting document, cannot understand anything. But one of the purposes of this session is to enlighten people, legal literacy, to bring the law to the common man standard. So definitely I will explain what prosecute is. So I would say the power of the police to prosecute a case or to prosecute a matter or to prosecute a matter in court. It means that the police, somebody is accusing you that you've done something. So the police is now coming after their investigation and everything. They are now coming to the court to come and prove to the court that truly you did it. So that act, they are prosecuting you like that. I think I've broken it down to like, so somebody comes to the police station. This person stole my land. This person stole my property, and the police did their investigation. They have their evidences, and okay, fine. We have to go to the court. We can't hold you. We can't hold you. We have to charge you to court, and they charge you to court, and they are coming to say, my lord, we've done this. We've done our investigation. We've carried our investigation out, and these are the evidences. This person is a thief. You understand? So based on the evidences, this person is a thief. So it is when somebody accuses you of doing something, of committing a crime, and the police is coming to the court to prove to the court that you are guilty. That is the meaning of prosecute. So when they are prosecuting you, it means they are trying to prove to the court that you are guilty. On the other side, definitely you will have your own lawyer that will represent you, that will defend you, like that. So
thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. We've actually understand the meaning of prosecute. That is, the police will actually call somebody to come to the court. Ma, can a police prosecute a case in the court? Can they prosecute a case in the court?
Okay. This topic has really sparked a lot of debates and controversies, but I'll stick to the law, what the law says, and how best I can interpret it. So I said earlier that the Police Act is what governs the activities of the police. I mean, the Police Act is where the police derive their powers to carry out what they do. So there is section 66 of the Police Act that provide for this. So I'm going to make reference to section 66 of the Police Act. So I hope I can read. Permit me to read. Can I read?
Of course, ma'am, you can.
All right. So I'm going to read section 1. And section 1 says that, section 66 sub 1 rather, says subject to the provisions of section 174 and 211 of the Constitution and section 106 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which relates to the powers of the Attorney General of the Federation and of a state to institute, take over, and continue or discontinue criminal proceedings against any person before any court of law in Nigeria. A police officer who is a legal practitioner may prosecute in person before any court, whether or not the information or complaint is laid in his name. Now, what does subsection 1 mean? Subsection 1 is straightforward. It's saying that a police officer who is a legal practitioner may prosecute in person, meaning that if the person is a lawyer, a legal practitioner, and he works with the police, I mean, he can actually appear as a legal practitioner for the police and for the state and prosecute. Those are the people we call, we see them more in high courts like prosecutors. You understand? Yeah. Prosecutors, they are for the state. They say we are representing the state. So and so person for the state. You understand? So because a criminal is the state that is charging you.
Okay.
You understand? In criminal law, it is the state. You are against the state. You've sinned against the state. So even if you sinned against someone, you committed a crime, and the person reports you to the police, and they charge you for the courts. Now it's state matter. That's why you see Commissioner of Police versus Inspector General of Police versus. You understand? So it is against the state. So the prosecutor is for the state, is representing the state to come to the court to prosecute you. So this sub 1 is straightforward. A prosecutor, a lawyer, can come and prosecute you, even though he works with the police but as long as he's a lawyer, he can come and prosecute you. So we have that one. That is sub 1. Now let's read sub 2. Sub 2 says that a police officer may, subject to the provisions of the relevant criminal procedure laws in force at the federal or state level, prosecute before any court those offences which non-qualified legal practitioners can prosecute. I'm going to take it again. A police officer may, subject to the provisions of the relevant criminal procedure laws in force at the federal or state level, may prosecute before any court those offences which non-legal practitioners can prosecute. Now, what is this place saying? It's saying that a police officer may prosecute before any court those offences which non-legal practitioners can prosecute, subject to the provisions of the relevant criminal procedure law. Now, in law, when you say something like subject to, that phrase is commonly used in law. So when we say something like subject to, it means that whatever it is they are subjecting to is superior to what you are subjecting. Okay, let me come again. This section 66 is subject to the criminal procedure law, is subject to the constitution. Let me use constitution for instance. If you say that subject to the constitution, it means that that law is inferior to the constitution. So it means the constitution will take precedence, it takes superiority over that one. I hope it's clear.
Yes.
You can.
Yeah, we are trying to get it.
Okay. This is one thing about lawyers. When you say, okay, lawyers are using English that we don't understand, but it's very, very simple. When you say subject to the provisions of relevant criminal procedure laws, this particular section 66 sub 2 is subject to the criminal procedure law. It means that this is the criminal procedure law, this is the act, it is subject to it. It means it is answering to the criminal procedure law. Okay. So it means the criminal procedure law is superior when it has to do with anything that regarding police prosecuting before the case. If the criminal procedure law makes a similar provision to it, because this section is subject to, it means the criminal procedure law will take precedence.
Barrister, if I should get you right, you mentioned criminal procedure act. You mean that criminal procedure act is more bigger? Is that what you are trying to tell us?
Yes, it's bigger when it comes to this provision now. Now, I'm not saying that generally the criminal procedure law is superior to it. It's saying that this provision, this specific provision is saying subject to the criminal procedure law. Yes, it means the criminal law is superior, it's subject to it, so inferior like that. So the criminal procedure law is above it. So subject to the relevant, you see now, relevant criminal procedure laws. So the ones that are relevant in this subject matter, as regards the subject matter, the relevant laws as regards the subject matter is superior to this section. So whatever, when you open your criminal procedure law and you are looking for relevant provisions that has to do with police prosecuting a matter in court, and there are similar provisions that the criminal law make provision for something like that, and you are weighing it, you put it at par with this section, because this section has said it is subject to the criminal procedure law, so it means the criminal procedure law or the constitution as read in sub 1 or the Administration of Criminal Justice Act as we read is superior to it. You understand? So when we are interpreting law, these are the things we actually look at. So I've actually explained subject to. So sub 2 is saying subject to the relevant criminal procedure laws in force at the federal or state level, a police officer may prosecute before any court those offences which non-legal practitioners can prosecute. Now, what are the offences the law did not state?
Okay.
The Police Act did not state the offences that non-legal practitioners can prosecute. We know that non-legal practitioners are non-lawyers. Anybody that is not a lawyer. So you say that a police officer can prosecute any offences that anybody can prosecute. I just want to use that word. I just want to replace non-legal practitioners. Non-legal practitioner is somebody that is not a lawyer. You understand? So anybody. So he said that a police officer may prosecute before any court those offences which non-legal practitioners. The offences are not stated. We don't know the offences. But like I said, if I'm to interpret it to the best of my knowledge, I'll say that what the drafters mean here is offences that are triable in the magistrate's court, in the lower court. Because those, the lower court, magistrate court is like the court of everybody. You can come and present it. Though fine, you need a lawyer to come to court. But even in magistrate's court, there are cases that you can represent yourself. You don't actually need a lawyer. In civil cases, you can actually represent yourself. Even in criminal cases too, that are not capital offences. If you can defend yourself, you can represent yourself. You can represent yourself. You understand? Like offences that you can try, probably like petty theft, just petty crimes like that. But when it comes to criminal or capital offences, if you say you don't have a lawyer that you want to try your case yourself, even the courts will not allow it. They will ask you to get a lawyer, or they get a lawyer for you. So I'm saying that. So I'm just interpreting it based on my own understanding. Those offences which non-legal practitioners can prosecute will probably mean what the drafters meant. Will mean probably offences that are triable in the lower courts, in the magistrate's courts. So non-legal practitioners can prosecute. So in summary, what I'm just trying to say is this. Based on the explanation I made as regards the subject to, because this particular section is subject to the Constitution, it is subject to the administration of criminal justice, and it is subject to the criminal procedure law that is in force in that particular state or at the federal level. So if you go to Lagos State and you open Lagos State criminal procedural law, and Lagos State criminal procedural law is saying a police officer can prosecute before the courts, then it means it applies. I don't even understand, because this, even this provision that is saying a police officer may prosecute. If you go to a state and you open their criminal procedure law and it's saying that a police officer can actually prosecute a case before any magistrate's court, the police officer can prosecute a case before the magistrate's court. But what we see most times in practice is we actually see prosecutors, we see qualified legal practitioners that come as prosecutors to come and prosecute for the states. But at the same time, the law is saying that if the criminal procedure law or the administration of criminal justice law of a particular state is saying that an officer can come to the court to prosecute a case, then subject to it, the police can go ahead and prosecute a case. But at the end of the day, what we want is we want justice. The goal is for justice to prevail. So if the law says a police officer can prosecute, then he can prosecute. He can actually go prove before the court that, my lord, all the evidences, we've done our investigation, a petition was written against the what's the word now? Was written against the suspect or the accused or the defendant, as the case may be, and we've done our investigation, we have evidences, you are using a statement, we've collected all evidences, we have witnesses to testify against him that yes, he did it. So based on all this, my lord, we know that this person is a thief, this person did it, he committed the act, he committed the offense, and the court will give a judgment. So basically that is it. That is it.
Thank you very much. I think by now I should be able to understand one or two things.
Yes.
A police can actually prosecute an action in the
subject
court to the law.
Yes,
thank you very much. I think everybody, we've actually understand the power of the police to prosecute an action in the court. So that brings an end to this section. And please don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and don't forget to comment. Thank you very much. And once again, from Ascent Litigation, thank you very much. See you next